Alright, so Frank Warren revealed on TalkSport today that Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois is now in talks for an all-British heavyweight clash on September the 21st at Wembley Stadium. Now, I have to say, I quite like this fight. I do. I quite like this fight. It makes the most sense. There was obviously three names that we were looking at. Obviously, Zhilei Zhang winning on Saturday night. Joseph Parker doesn't have a fight lined up, but he's been mentioning Anthony Joshua's name. And obviously, Daniel Dubois defeated Filip Hrgović. He is now the IBF interim champion. It does beg the question now, because I think it's a legit question. If Dubois has now usurped Hrgović in the rankings, if he's now interim IBF champion, what does that mean for Alexander Usyk and his mandatory obligations? Because normally, if you look at WBC and the WBO, when the current mandatory or interim champion loses, the mandatory tends to reset. Is that the case with the IBF? Will it now reset? So will Alexander Usyk, who was looking for an exemption, so he could go into his fight with Tyson Fury as undisputed champion, will that now mean that the IBF will be a bit more willing to accept the exemption? Because as far as they were concerned, well, your mandatory was Filip Hrgović. It's not now. Now it's Dubois. Now we've got to change the things. So it might mean that Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois may only be for the interim title. It might not be for anything other than that. Interim title is not a bad thing to win, because it means that you're guaranteed a crack at the champion, or if he doesn't fulfill that obligation, he gets stripped or vacated. Well, you don't have to fight anyone for the vacant title. You just get, boom, there you go, you're full champion. Some people would say that that's not a nice way to win it, especially if it's your first title, you want to win it in the ring. But for some, I mean, I'm sure they don't really give a damn. They're just like, well, I'm champion now, so happy days. So Dubois versus Joshua, to me, out of those three, is the best one. And a lot of people are looking at Daniel Dubois' performance against Filip Hrgović, and they're noticing how leaky his defense is. And to be honest with you, it is. It's very leaky defense. He's very upright. He's open to big right hands. What I will say is Dubois definitely shows that he can take a good shot. With Filip Hrgović, for all of his flaws, he does have punching power. He is a decent puncher. And Daniel Dubois took plenty of shots off him. Now, he's going to want to be probably... Again, I don't know who really... I would suspect Joshua does hit harder between him and Hrgović. But I'd say Hrgovic's punches don't tickle. I'm sure he's what, 6'6", 6'7", 200 and nearly 50 pounds. I'm sure those punches hurt. Daniel Dubois took them. I don't want to say no problem, but he took them. And he was able to return fire, has a very good jab, very heavy-handed, very physically strong as Daniel Dubois, and appears to have quite a good gas tank. I think him versus Joshua, although, look, most people have Joshua favourite, and to be honest with you, I myself will have Joshua favourite going into this fight. I would expect him to win probably by stoppage anyway. In fact, if it's a fight like Daniel Dubois versus Hrgović was shaping up to be, where it's really going to be a war of attrition, well, Joshua should come through that, but it'll probably be by stoppage. But if it is a war of attrition, it's interesting, because I look at the way Dubois fights and how he swings with some of those shots. He uses his jab, he goes to the body. He is reckless. He's very flipping reckless, and the referee don't want to be on point for that. But I look at that and I just think, if he's doing that against Joshua, he's going to have to worry about what's coming back at him. But the idea that Joshua could take the punches that Filip Hrgović took as well as Filip Hrgović took them, he just won't. Filip Hrgović, for all his flaws, has shown himself to have a very good chin at heavyweight. Very, very good chin, Filip Hrgović. I mean, people say Joe Joyce has a good chin. Hrgović is better. I mean, Hrgović wasn't dropped by Zhilei Zhang. He took plenty of shots against Dubois. Never looked close to going down, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a really incredible chin. So him against Joshua, it's an interesting fight. You know, he's a lot younger than Anthony Joshua. I think it's 8-year age gap. Don't underestimate how someone being that much younger and having the youth on his side will play into his strengths. Daniel Dubois versus Joshua, Matchroom versus Queensberry on the biggest stage. This fight could be really, really, really interesting. And again, you know, out of the three names, Parker, seen it before, it wasn't a great fight. Zhang, I would make Joshua, I'd be more assured of Joshua winning. Now, I'm saying that I think he's going to win this fight, but I'd be more confident picking Joshua to beat Zhilei Zhang than I would be of him beating Daniel Dubois. I think he'd either but he's already beaten Zhilei Zhang in the amateurs, familiarity, he knows that he can beat him. Zhilei Zhang's stamina is terrible. Joshua would need to be super careful because Zhilei Zhang has the power to take his head clean off his shoulders. He's the power to take any heavyweight's head clean off the shoulders. But I think if you can survive an onslaught, if you can just bring him into the late rounds, you're pretty much okay. And I think Joshua would be very wary and would keep it at range. With Dubois, again, the youth, the way he seems to take a good shot, the stamina, that to me is an interesting fight. It's an interesting fight. Again, I would make Joshua favourite, certainly. Much more proven. But I would look at this and think, okay, this could be a good scrap. And in terms of the card on September 21st, the press conference is meant to be the end of this month. I'm going to try and be over in London for that, hopefully. If not, I'll just try and get over for the day just to see it, experience it again. I'm looking forward to this show. Turki Al-Sheikh seems to be pulling out all the stops. Could we get Zhang Wilder or not Zhang Wilder 2, Zhang Parker 2 on the undercard? Could Inoue be on the, imagine Inoue on the undercard? That would be just, oh man, that would be amazing. But yeah, a lot of good things coming up. Dubois versus Joshua in Wembley Stadium. They're in talks. If it happens, happy days. I think it'd be a good fight. I think it'd be a very good fight. Again, I would favour Anthony Joshua. I certainly would. But this will tell us a lot about where Joshua's at. Because again, you beat Francis Ngannou. Okay, you've beaten a novice pro. Let's put you in there with a top 10 heavyweight. And then we'll really see how this Joshua 2.0 is looking. How far this Joshua can go. Let's wait and see. I'll leave it there, people. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. As always, hit subscribe if you haven't already. And lads and lassies, I'll leave it there. Peace.